I cheated on my husband with my former student. He sent every message to her family, showed our teenage son the proof. Son cried, "I hate you, Mom. My parents cut me off forever. Grandpa called me a disgrace to the bloodline. No coming back." I want to start with my son's face. Not the messages. Not the forwarding. Not the calls from my parents or the voicemail from my grandfather that I have listened to 11 times in the past 3 weeks because I keep hoping it will sound different. I want to start with my son's face because his face is the thing I cannot put down. The thing that is still in my hands when I wake up at 3 a.m. and lie there in the dark in a house that has too many rooms now and too much quiet. His name is Nathan. He's 16. He has his father's jaw in my eyes and the specific kind of stillness that teenage boys have when they are trying to decide how to exist in a situation they didn't choose. He plays soccer. He is good at math in the precise, careful way that his father is good at everything, not brilliant, not flashy, just relentlessly accurate. He makes his bed every morning without being asked. He has done this since he was 9. I don't know who taught him that. It might have been Warren. It might have been something he decided on his own. It is the kind of thing I realize I don't know about my own son when I think about the things I was not paying attention to. Warren showed Nathan the messages on a Saturday morning. I wasn't there. I was at the grocery store. I know this because I remember standing in the cereal aisle when my phone started ringing and it was Nathan's number and I answered and he didn't say anything for a moment. Just breathing. The specific quality of breathing that tells you something has happened before anyone says a word. Then he said, "Mom." Just that. Just my name in the voice he had before it finished changing. One syllable. The way he said it when he was small and had woken from a bad dream. I said, "Nathan. What's wrong? What happened?" He said, "Dad showed me something." I said, "What did he show you?" He said, "The messages, Mom." He showed me the messages. The cereal aisle. Fluorescent lights. A woman next to me reaching for something on the top shelf. A child in a cart 2 feet away eating a cracker. The specific ordinary texture of a Saturday morning at a grocery store while my 16-year-old son was on the phone having seen things no child should see about his mother. I said, "Nathan. I'm coming home right now. I'm getting in the car right now." He said, "Why did you do it?" 16 years old. Standing in some room in the house with his father's phone in his hand or his own phone or maybe just the printed pages because Warren is methodical and Warren prepares things properly. Standing somewhere and asking the question that I had no answer to. Not a good one. Not one that would mean anything to a 16-year-old boy who had just read his mother's messages to another man. I said, "I'm going to explain everything when I get home. I'm getting in the car right now." He said, "I don't want you to come home right now." I stood in the cereal aisle. He said, "I don't want to see you right now, Mom." I said, "Nathan." He said, "I hate you." He said it quietly. Not shouting. Not a tantrum. The way you say something when you mean it specifically and you want the person to hear that you mean it and you are not performing anything. The way you say something true. I hate you. I have heard those words before. Every parent has heard some version of it from a teenager in a moment of anger over something small. A curfew. A privilege revoked. A disagreement about something that won't matter in a week. I have heard the version that means I'm frustrated and you're convenient. I have never heard the version that Nathan said in that aisle. That version means something different. That version goes somewhere inside you and stays. I sat on the floor of the cereal aisle of a grocery store at 10:43 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I sat on the floor because my legs did not hold me. A store employee came and asked if I was all right. I said yes. I said I just needed a moment. She stood nearby for a while. I don't know if she was concerned or waiting for me to move. I sat on that floor for 4 minutes by the clock on my phone. Then I got up. I left my cart. I went to my car and I sat in the parking lot and I called Warren. He answered. Of course he answered. Warren has always answered. 11 years of marriage and he has always answered. I said, "Warren. You showed him. You showed Nathan the messages." Warren said, "Yes." I said, "He's 16. He didn't need to see those." Warren said, "He's 16 and he asked me why his mother was moving out and I decided he deserved an honest answer." Moving out. I had not known that was happening. I had thought we were at the beginning of a process. I had not understood that Warren had already determined the end point. I said, "When am I moving out?" He said, "I'd like you to take what you need this weekend. I've spoken to Vivian. You'll receive the formal paperwork Monday." I said, "Warren." "Nathan." He said, "Nathan is fine. He's upset. He should be. He'll be fine." I said, "You shouldn't have shown him." Warren was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You shouldn't have written them. He hung up. I drove home. I drove home because it was still my home for this weekend and Nathan was there, and whatever I had broken, I needed to try to stand in front of him and be his mother. He was in his room. The door was closed. I knocked. He didn't answer. I said his name. He said, I don't want to talk. I said, Nathan, I just need to see that you're okay. He said, I'm fine. Go away, please. Please. He said, please. Even then. Even at 16 in his room with the door closed after reading his mother's messages. He said, please. I went to the kitchen. I made coffee I didn't drink. I sat at the table that Warren and I had bought at a furniture store 7 years ago on a Sunday when Nathan was 9 and had come with us and spent the entire trip asking questions about how furniture was made. I sat at that table and I tried to understand the shape of what the next hours and days and years were going to look like. My parents. My mother called Sunday evening. Not to check on me. Not to ask what had happened or to offer the kind of support that mothers sometimes manage even in the worst situations. She called to tell me what she had decided. She said, Diana? We've been speaking with Warren. I said, You've been speaking with Warren. She said, He called us Friday evening. He told us everything. He sent us the messages. She paused. Some of them. Some of them. Warren had curated the package. He had decided what my parents needed to see and he had sent it to them on Friday evening while I was still in the house, unaware that the forwarding had already expanded beyond Kelsey. I said, Mom? I need to talk to you. I need to explain. She said, Diana? I've read them. There's nothing to explain. Her voice had a quality it gets when she has made a decision that is final. I have known this quality my whole life. My mother is a woman who deliberates carefully and decides rarely, and once decided does not revisit. I have always respected this about her. I am not in a position to respect it about myself right now. She said, Your father and I have talked about this for 2 days. We've prayed about it. She stopped. You have a son. You have a husband who has done nothing but work to provide for this family. You had everything that matters in you? She stopped again. Longer this time. She said, We need some distance, Diana. We need a significant amount of distance. I don't know when that changes. I said, Mom? Please. I need you right now. She said, I know you do. I know that. She paused. But Nathan needs us more. And right now I need to be available for Nathan and for Warren without, she stopped. I can't be in both places. I'm sorry. She hung up. I sat with the phone in my hand. My mother had chosen Nathan and Warren. She had organized herself around the people who needed her in a way that did not include me. I understood it. I understood it the way you understand something that is correct and devastating simultaneously. My father did not call that night. He called Monday morning. Early. The call lasted 4 minutes and 20 seconds because I counted afterward the way you count things when you are trying to make the unmanageable feel like data. He said, I don't have a lot to say. He said it that way, with that rhythm, the way he has said things my whole life when he is controlling something in himself. I recognize the rhythm. It is the rhythm of a man who was raised not to cry in front of anyone, including his daughter. He said, I raised you to know better than this. I raised you to understand that a family is not something you treat carelessly. He said, I am very disappointed in you. He said it without inflection. Just the words. I am very disappointed in you. The words parents use when they have run out of a different language. He said, Your grandfather wants to speak with you. I'm giving him the phone. I want to tell you about my grandfather. He is 81. He was born in a house without electricity in a part of this country that people now drive through on their way to somewhere else. He built a life through the specific combination of stubbornness and dignity that people of his generation built things with. He raised 4 children. He buried one of them, my uncle, in 1987, when I was 4 years old. He has been the same person for as long as I can remember. Upright. Consistent. The kind of man who means every word he says because he does not waste words. He said, Diana. I said, Grandpa. He said, I've been told what happened. I've seen what your husband sent. He said, I want to ask you a question and I want you to answer me honestly. I said, okay. He said, Did you understand what you were doing? When you were doing it? Did you understand what it meant? I said, I told myself it was harmless. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Harmless? He repeated the word the way people repeat a word when they want to show you how it sounds from the outside. Harmless? He said, A man cheats at cards, that's harmless. A man forgets an appointment, that's harmless. He paused. What you did was not harmless, Diana. What you did reached your son. What you did reached that young man's wife. What you did reached Warren after 11 years of him showing up every single day for this family. He paused again. There is no version of what you did that is harmless. Anyone who told you otherwise was lying to you. Including yourself. I said, I know. He said, I want you to understand something from me directly. I'm 81 years old. I don't have the energy for pretending things are different from what they are. He said, you are my grandchild and that doesn't change. But what you did is a disgrace to this family. To what we built. To what we stand for. He said it flat and even like he was describing the weather. A disgrace to this bloodline. I said, Grandpa. He said, I'm not finished. He said, I hope you spend a long time with this. I hope you sit with it until you understand every part of what it cost. I hope you come out the other side of that a person your son can look at again someday. That's what I hope for. But I want you to know that what you did, I am ashamed. I am ashamed of it. In my family. With my name. He said, your father is going to take the phone back now. My father took the phone back. He said, we'll be in touch. Then he hung up. I sat on the floor of the kitchen of the house I was moving out of that weekend. Sat on the tile that Warren and I had chosen together and installed together over a long weekend 8 years ago with a YouTube tutorial and a tile saw we borrowed from the neighbor. I sat on the tile and I held the phone and I thought about my grandfather's voice and the word disgrace and the phrase this bloodline and what it means to be 81 years old and to have spent your life building something and to pick up the phone and hear from your son that your granddaughter has become something you need to account for. He called me a disgrace. My grandfather. Who has never wasted a word in his life. Who has always meant what he said. Who built something worth being descended from. He called me a disgrace and I sat on the kitchen floor. I did not argue with him because he was right. Nathan. He came out of his room Sunday evening. I was at the table. He came into the kitchen and he stood at the counter with his back to me and he poured himself a glass of water. He drank it standing at the counter. Then he stood there for a moment without turning around. He said, are you moving out? I said, this weekend. Yes. He said, where are you going? I said, an apartment. It's close. You can come whenever you want. Your dad and I are going to figure out a schedule. He said, did you love him? The other person. I said, no. He said, then why? There it is. The question. The one I have turned over every day since Thursday. The one my grandfather asked in different words. Did you understand what you were doing? Why? I said, Nathan. I don't have an answer that's going to make sense to you. I don't have an answer that makes sense to me. What I did was wrong. I knew it was wrong and I did it anyway and I told myself it didn't matter and I was wrong about that too. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He stood at the counter for a while. Then he said, I don't want to hear sorry right now. I said, I know. He said, maybe later. Not right now. I said, okay. He took his glass and went back to his room. The door closed. Quietly. The way he closes things. Carefully. Like his father. He said maybe later. I am holding those two words. The apartment. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment 6 miles from the house. The second bedroom is for Nathan on the schedule Warren and I have not yet fully negotiated but that Vivian and Sable are working through. I bought a bed for the second bedroom before I bought one for my own room. That order felt important. I didn't examine why. It just did. The apartment smells like fresh paint and the specific newness of a place that hasn't been lived in yet. I'm trying to learn what sounds it makes at night. Every building makes sounds. The house had sounds I knew completely. The apartment sounds are unfamiliar and I wake to them at 3 a.m. and lie there and wait for them to resolve into something recognizable. The second bedroom has a bed and a dresser and a lamp. I put a plant on the windowsill because Nathan likes plants. We had several in the house. He used to water them on Sundays without being asked. I bought a pothos because they're difficult to kill and I am not confident in my ability to maintain anything living right now. Nathan has not come to the apartment yet. It has been 3 weeks. Sable says this is within the range of normal for this kind of situation. Warren says Nathan is processing. He says it with the flatness of someone who is also processing and is choosing to apply their remaining resources to the child between them rather than to anything regarding me. I respect this. I do not deserve his resources. My mother texted last week. Just thinking of you. No further message. I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back, thank you. That was our entire exchange. 2 texts. 5 words between us. But she reached? She reached, and I know what that cost her, and I am storing the reach carefully in a place where I keep the things that might matter later. My father has not reached. My grandfather has not reached. I do not expect them to. Some reaches are not within the architecture of certain men. My grandfather told me in 4 minutes what he needed to tell me, and he will let that stand, and I understand this about him, and I do not begrudge it. He was honest. He was precise. He told me what I had cost this family in his specific 81-year-old voice that has never lied to me about anything. I would rather have the honesty than the silence that pretends. Warren. He is still in the house. He is raising Nathan in the house. He is making coffee in the morning and packing Nathan's lunch and doing the things that Warren does because Warren shows up. Warren has always shown up. I understand now, in the way you understand things too late, that showing up consistently and quietly for 11 years is not predictable. It is not boring. It is the most sophisticated kind of love there is because it requires nothing from the person receiving it except presence, and I could not manage even that. He showed Nathan the messages. I have turned this over many times. I have thought about whether it was the right thing to do. Whether a 16-year-old boy needed to see his mother's words in that specific form. Whether there was a version of honesty that would have been less direct and still sufficient. I keep coming back to the same place. Warren told Nathan because Nathan asked. Nathan deserved to know the truth of why his family was changing shape. Warren gave him the truth in the most legible form available. I do not think it was wrong. I think it was a choice made by a father who has always chosen his son's understanding over his own comfort. Even when his own comfort was already shattered. That is the man I had. That is the man I told myself was predictable. The institutional review. Still ongoing. Sable is managing it. The formal finding has not been issued. I am on administrative leave. My office key has been returned. My parking permit has been deactivated. My email access has been restricted to external communication only while the process continues. 9 years. A curriculum. A teaching award. Students who wrote in their evaluations that my seminar changed the way they think. I am not in a position to grieve this publicly. I made choices that created exposure. The exposure has consequences. Sable is managing the consequences as well as they can be managed. I am waiting. Joel. I have not spoken to Joel. I do not intend to. His life is his to navigate, and I have no place in the navigation of it. I heard through a channel I did not seek that he and Kelsey are in counseling. I do not know if they will stay together. That is entirely theirs. I hope Kelsey finds something on the other side of this that is better than what it replaced. She deserves that. She deserved better than to wake up to a forwarded message thread from a stranger at 2:47 in the morning. She deserved better than all of it. What I would tell myself. I think about the word harmless. I have thought about it every day. I have taken it apart and looked at all its components, and I have tried to understand how I used it to cover something that was never small. Harmless? A word that means no weight. No consequence. Nothing that will fall on anyone. I used it because I wanted to do something I knew I should not do, and I needed a word that would let me do it. So I chose harmless. I selected it from all the available words because it was the one that would hold the most weight without appearing to carry any. I used it the way people use words when they need to believe something they already know is not true. I know what it cost now. In a way that cannot be revised. My son said I hate you in a quiet voice that meant it specifically. He said maybe later, which I am holding with both hands in the dark at 3 a.m. in an apartment that smells like fresh paint. My grandfather called me a disgrace to the bloodline at 81 years old in a voice that has never lied. My mother texted 2 words and I am storing them carefully. My father is somewhere not reaching, and I understand why, and it costs me anyway. Warren is in the house putting lunch in a bag every morning and answering Nathan's questions honestly because Warren has always answered questions honestly. He answered at 2:47 in the morning. He answered by forwarding. He answered the way data architects answer, by moving accurate information to the place where it needed to be. To Kelsey. To my parents. To Nathan. I provided the data. I forgot about the backup. I called it harmless. The coffee mug is still in the drying rack at the house I moved out of. I know because I drove past it on Tuesday on my way to Sable's office, and I looked through the kitchen window for a moment. I don't know why I looked. I don't know what I was hoping to see. I saw the house. I saw the kitchen through the window. I saw the ordinary shape of a life that continues without me in it. I drove to Sable's office. I sat across from her and we talked about the institutional review. She was precise and direct and covered every element of what needs to happen next. When we were done, she said, "Diana? How are you actually doing?" I said, "I'm managing." She said, "That's not the same as okay." I said, "I know. I'll be okay eventually." She said, "Yes. You will be." I am choosing to believe her. Not because I feel it yet. Because she is the most precise person I know right now, and she said it without hesitation, and precision is the thing I have the most respect for, the thing I have always had the most respect for, the thing I fail to apply to the most important parts of my own life. Maybe later. 2 words from my son through a closed door. I am holding them. I will keep holding them. For as long as it takes.